Today is Friday, April 1st. We're talking about an unprecedented move by the White House that could push gas prices down, though some analysts say it's not worth it. Also, a new CDC report about the mental health of teens in today's world. And ever wonder what your family was doing back in 1950? Well, government records just came out that could have the answers. Plus, don't be a fool, the types of jokes you could see today. Netflix goes more interactive, and what to expect from the biggest night in music this weekend. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, the U.S. is making a historic move meant to lower gas prices that have soared to record highs. The White House announced the largest ever release of oil from its strategic reserve. It's essentially America's stockpile of oil meant for emergencies. Now, an average of 1 million barrels of oil will be released every day for the next 6 months. Some analysts say it's needed since the rising demand for oil has outpaced the available supply this year. And then the U.S. banned Russian oil because of the war in Ukraine, making matters worse and sending gas prices surging. Energy prices can also impact inflation. But others question Biden's aggressive approach to drive down prices before there's an actual fuel shortage. The move will leave just about 3 months' worth of supply left in the reserve. And when the Biden administration tries to build the stockpile back up in the second part of the year, fuel prices could go up again. So they say even though this plan will give Americans some short-term relief, it's far from a long-term solution. The oil industry was not all that happy with the president's announcements either. The American Petroleum Institute, that represents oil and gas companies, says Biden unfairly blamed them for the crisis. And it says Biden should instead lower regulations that would actually encourage more oil production here in the U.S. But releasing oil from the reserve is just part one of the president's plan. President Biden says he's also going to invoke the Defense Production Act. Remember, that's the law that lets the White House order private companies to do something for the good of the country. And Biden is using it to boost clean energy technology. On top of that, he asked Congress to pass a new law that would push oil companies to drill faster when they have leases on federal lands. He wants the federal government to impose fees on companies with unused leases. Already on the same day as that news came out, oil prices dropped about 7%. But you won't see the difference at gas stations just yet. Those prices typically lag behind by about 2 weeks. Russian troops have left the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine after being exposed to radiation. At least that's according to Ukraine's state power company. It says the Russians dug trenches in the forest around the closed plant where the worst nuclear disaster in history happened 36 years ago, and that they panicked at the first sign of illness. So the plant is back in Ukrainian control. But the Russian government has not said exactly why its troops left. Officials with the International Atomic Energy Agency plan to visit the plant in the next few days. Details of the fighting also change by the day and by the source. Ukraine's President Zelensky recently backed up reports that some troops are leaving the north and center of his country, though those same places are still under attack, either from the troops still left on the ground or from the air. And Zelensky says those who have left just repositioned in the southeast to prepare for more powerful battles ahead. But in some places, Ukrainian troops have seen new gains, taking back towns that were at one point in Russian control. A new round of peace talks is scheduled to start today, but there's not a lot of hope Russia and Ukraine are going to solve this conflict anytime soon. To be continued. Well, back in the U.S., the CDC is calling it a cry for help. The federal health agency just published a new survey warning about a rising mental health crisis in teenagers. In that survey, more than 2 in 5 teens reported they felt persistently sad or hopeless, and 1 in 5 said they had thought about suicide. The CDC survey went out to nearly 8,000 high schoolers around the country during the first 6 months of last year, when they were in the middle of their first full school year since COVID-19 swept the country. As one official says, this is evidence the pandemic was incredibly disruptive for young people. This isn't the first report to say this either. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General have put out similar warnings. But the most recent survey also found some solutions. It says students who felt connected to adults and classmates at school were far less likely to report feelings of sadness or hopelessness. So the CDC says schools can help by teaching the teachers how to better manage classrooms. They can also bring in more clubs and make sure all students feel welcome. We should also mention there are many free, confidential mental health resources available to anyone who may need them, including the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-TALK. The U.S. Census from 1950 was finally released early this morning, more than 7 decades later. Privacy laws kept them locked away until now, but some Americans have been anxiously awaiting this report because 1950 was an interesting year. That's when America did its first census after World War II at the start of the baby boom. The U.S. had grown by nearly 15% in just a decade, and some industrial cities were more populated than ever before Americans started moving to the suburbs. Researchers are now going through all the records that were just published to get a more precise look at those kinds of trends. It really can tell genealogists and historians a lot, since the census was much more detailed back then than it is today. You may remember the 2020 census included just 9 questions, but back in 1950, there were 38. They asked about people's jobs, incomes, education, and ancestry. They also asked about Americans' living conditions, if they had running water, toilets, bathtubs, radios, and refrigerators, among other things. More news just ahead, but first, let's take a quick moment for our sponsor. My newest pair of Rothy's shoes is the Point in Black, and they're such a staple that it's now clear to me why they are one of Rothy's best-selling shoes. In fact, People magazine named the Point the best flat for their first ever style awards in 2021. But Rothy's also makes super comfortable sneakers, loafers, ankle boots, and more. I have 3 pairs of Rothy's shoes now, and I've never had to break any of them in. I wear them right out of the box with no problems. And really, my oldest pair looks the same as my newest. They're that high quality and durable. Plus, I love that everything, yes, everything Rothy's makes is better for the planet. They've repurposed millions of water bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. So every time I buy, I can feel really good about what I'm getting for myself and the company where I'm spending my money. So step up your shoes and accessories this spring and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. In a major breakthrough, scientists finally pieced together the full genetic blueprint for human life. A massive team published the full map of the human genome from end to end with no gaps. Basically, it's the set of instructions to build and sustain a human being. It was almost finished 2 decades ago, but because technology wasn't advanced enough back then, it was missing about 8% of the genome. But now that the gaps have been filled, researchers say it could drive a whole new era of medical breakthroughs. And while they say it might be years before they see a concrete payoff, the full genome could offer insights into human development, like how we evolve, how we age, even how we develop and adapt to viruses or diseases like cancer. But there's still a lot more work to do. That's because scientists are not saying this is the human genome. It's just one human genome. And they admit to have more accurate research, they need genomes from different people all over the world. Music's biggest night is this Sunday. The 2022 Grammys promise lots of star performers, including Carrie Underwood, John Legend, BTS, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Lil Nas X, and Chris Stapleton, just to name a few. But the Grammys will go on without a few stars, like the Foo Fighters, who were set to perform before the sudden death of their drummer last week. Now there's reportedly a tribute to Taylor Hawkins in the works instead. And as we told you last month, the rapper now known as Ye, formerly Kanye West, was barred from performing because of concerning online behavior. Plus, rapper Drake withdrew his 2 Grammy nominations back in December without publicly saying why. You can catch this year's Grammy Awards Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS. It also streams on Paramount+. Today is launch day for an interactive daily trivia game show on Netflix. It's called Trivia Quest, and it's based on the popular mobile game Trivia Crack. So here's how it works. Starting today, Netflix will air an episode every day this month, and each episode will have 24 trivia questions. Players will answer questions from a variety of categories like science, history, entertainment, sports, and art using their TV remote, smartphone, computer, or game console. Well, this debuts 4 years now after Netflix first tried out an interactive show, Black Mirror Bandersnatch. And it comes as Netflix now invests more into another form of interactive content, gaming. Here's your reminder not to believe everything you see or hear today, because it's April Fool's Day. And a lot of brands jump on the joke trend, most of them offering things that, let's face it, no one wants. This year, we've already seen some interesting advertisements, like a sweet and sour sundae from McDonald's. Think sweet and sour sauce on top of Mickey D's ice cream. Then there are companies who are having to convince people they're not making an April Fool's Day joke. This week, Dyson unveiled noise-canceling headphones that double as an air purifier. A detachable visor blows filtered air into your nose and mouth. A lot of people online speculated that it was a prank, but Dyson is promising that product is real. The Muslim celebration of Ramadan starts this weekend. It's Islam's holiest time. And all throughout April, the millions of Muslims around the world observing Ramadan will fast every day from dawn to sunset. It's said to be a time to prioritize feeding the soul over the physical body. Along with abstaining from food, drink, and more, it's also meant to be a reminder to strengthen relationships with God. It's also a time to be spent with loved ones and for reflection and joy. Then there's a big 3-day celebration called Eid al-Fitr, which means the festival of the breaking of the fast. People gather, feast, and give gifts to mark the end of Ramadan. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a message from our sponsor. Have you ever had something that actually gets better as you use it? Think good jeans that stretch to perfectly fit your body over time. Would you ever think sheets could be on that list? Well, Boll & Branch sheets are not just buttery, breathable, and comfortable. They also get softer with every wash. Really, I've already noticed the difference. And as someone who works odd hours and is a fairly new parent, I value my sleep when I can get it. I want those hours to be high quality, and Boll & Branch sheets help make that possible. There's nothing quite like getting into a freshly made bed to go to sleep after a long day, right? And it's that much better when you love your sheets, like I do, thanks to Boll & Branch. And get this, if you're ready to give them a try, Boll & Branch gives you a 30-night risk-free trial with free shipping and returns on all orders. Plus, the Newsworthy listeners get 15% off your first set of sheets when you use the promo code NEWSWORTHY at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND Branch, bollandbranch.com with the promo code NEWSWORTHY. Now back to Feel Good Friday. And this one is in honor more than 70 years in the making. Retired Lieutenant Colonel James H. Harvey III is one of the few living members of the now legendary Tuskegee Airmen. And he piloted on the team that won the military's very first Top Gun contest, that's a gunnery competition. But as he says, it was swept under the rug because the team was black. The Air Force Almanac even listed the winners as unknown. Then last year, Harvey got a call from AARP's Wish of a Lifetime, which grants lifelong wishes to older adults. Harvey's one wish was for his fighter group to officially be recognized for winning that Top Gun competition in 1949. So a plaque was unveiled and mounted at the Nellis Air Force Base in the group's honor. On top of that, the AARP decided Harvey's story needed to be told, so it produced a 10-minute documentary on his journey to recognition. Now, the Wish of a Lifetime program's executive director hopes people see the plaque and remember the racism the Tuskegee Airmen faced while fighting for their country. And Harvey says he wants to inspire people to aim for their goals no matter what others say. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode. We're sharing the stories of some refugees you may not have heard about yet. Then join us again Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.